What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're taking a look at a title called Goblins of Elderstone. We've covered this game a couple of times over the years, always in its early access, and this time around we're taking a look at the 1.0 version. The developers reached out earlier this week, and they gave me a beta code that allows me to dive on into the 1.0, so I figured that while I do that, I will bring you all along with me. I checked this game out for about 2 hours last night, just to make sure that I was familiar with kind of build orders, and what works and what doesn't work, and how to get set up in the early game. And I think I'm about ready to bring you guys with me, but there's a little bit of a runway to this game before we actually get to play it, and so let's get started. If after watching this, you wanted to get the game for yourself, I got a link for you down below in the description. You can check that out there. The 1.0 is officially out and done. On top of that, I'll probably be streaming this game on the day that the video goes live, because I think when it comes to stuff like RimWorld, or when it comes to things like heavier RPGs, it can be very difficult to appraise or come up with any type of qualitative analysis of the game and its attributes in such a short time as like a 45-minute video. Sometimes I pre-game for 3 or 4 hours so that I can get my thoughts put together better, but I find that a lot of time what the audience wants is like a big unbroken stream of me just playing the game for a long time. So I think we'll probably do that on the day this video goes live as well, and you can find those links down below too. Let's go ahead and play the game. At the beginning, you've got this super awesome, it's kind of like this immersive little menu right here. All of these are actually things, so like when you get achievements and when you do certain accomplishments, inside of the game you get little trophies and stuff that get added to all these boards and whatnot. I don't think it affects the overall game, like there's no meta progression or anything, but it is cool that when you start a new game, all of your accolades and things that you've done in previous colonies end up being lined up on the walls in sort of like an interesting way. Let's go ahead and dive on into a new game. And basically what we have to do here is we have to choose our origin story, and when we choose our origin story, it's going to determine who our gods are. This is very immersive if you want to see what it looks like. I'm pretty sure I did it the last time I covered the game, so you can watch it there. Instead, what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to edit this out so that we can get to the gameplay a little bit faster, but I did enjoy creating my own pantheon of goblin gods and my own pantheon of sort of, you know, goblin aspirations when I did it last night. And so I can tell you this entire experience is pretty fun. So having answered a number of questions, here is our pantheon of gods. This is actually new. I don't think the game did this the last time that I played it, where it actually had full-on animated statues of all the goblin gods that you get to pick from, basically. But the gods we can pick from for our goblin war colony, we've got Sagerite, who is just a wanderer. He is aligned with good. He is a magical god. He hates elves, which means he's all right in my book. Anybody that dislikes elves is good with me. We've also got Moongast over here. Moongast is evil and hates humans. So there you go. Each of these gods, if you get their favor, they will give you abilities that you can use, kind of black and white style, in order to tip the scales in your favor when things start to fall apart. There's also Golden Tongue. I'm pretty sure Golden Tongue is like the god of charisma and trade. And so, yeah, there it is right there. So we get discounts when we buy resources from merchants. And he's charming. So apparently diplomacy has a... Oh, we can make ourselves get a guaranteed diplomacy success. That's pretty useful. All right. And then there's also his alignment is good. And he hates dwarves, which is kind of odd considering he's a god of trade and being silver-tongued. This is the nature god right here. He's like a big old Sam Squanch. His name is Iridin. His influence is war. He's a neutral god. And it looks like when we scavenge, we get bonus sticks. And it looks like force all elder resources to spawn new resources. Okay. And then there's like faster movement speed when we go through explored tiles. All right, well, there's lots of like cool things here. I do like these little gods. Like, I love these little animations and whatnot. It's tremendously immersive how they all have their own voice and their own mannerisms and their own influences when it comes to their aesthetic. I like it. So now what we got to do is we got to select a map. If you've ever played anything like Stonehearth, or you've played anything like Dwarf Fortress, this will make sense. We just got to pan and scan around and find a spot that's got the resources that we crave. So I've regenerated a couple maps here, and I think that I found the one we're going to stay at. But we've got to actually like rename this thing, because that's not a good name for a goblin village, especially a goblin village that's dedicated to something very focused, something very trade-like, where we're going to be wiping out the humans because the humans have been selected as our enemy. So We're gonna name this Human Mauler's Gourd. Oh, no, it doesn't fit. Okay. Humie Slasher's Gourd. That one also doesn't fit. Well, this is creating a problem. I can't name my society after the attributes which we most value. I'm just gonna call it No Humies Allowed. That'll fit for whatever reason. I feel like, weirdly enough, I feel like Human Mauler's Gorge has less letters in it than No Humies Allowed, but in actuality, not the case. It's one of those perceptional things that I would swear to God is true if you put the two things right next to each other, but I guess not. We will continue. And this is where we need to draft all of our goblins. You get to pick all your starting goblins. And the only thing you really need to know about this is that every goblin has 3 stats. They have red, they have yellow, and they have white. Red is war. That's how good they are at fighting. Yellow is trade. That's how good they are at crafting and doing general labor around the camp. And then white is faith, which is their capacity for magic and their ability to do priestly jobs. On top of that, all of these guys right here will have little perks and things that you probably want to mouse over real fast. Just to figure out what they do and if you want that person to be a part of your society. So somebody with an increased carrying capacity makes a really, really good hauler, for example. So we probably want him in there. He's got bad stats, but he's got a good perk that kind of turns that around and makes him slightly useful. We also need to assign a leader. Let's see here. We recommend assigning goblins so your king... Well, yeah, but like, what is the attribute? The Skullburner clan. That's a pretty good name right there. But we're going to call it the Humie Stompers. There we go. That's the name right there. And then I need something in my logo that sort of implies that we're going to stomp the ever-loving hell out of anything taller than 4 feet that comes near our society. There's nothing in here, I think, that really implies stompination. So I'm just going to go with this adorable little piggy guy right here. And then we'll make our shield green, and then we'll go like that right there maybe, or like maybe gold. Yeah, that looks good. Let's do that. There's nothing that stomps here, so I figured I would just put like, you know, some cute stuff in there. Now then, we're going to need to pick our goblins. I do want the guy with the hauling trait. We're going to want somebody to be our king, and we want our king to have kind of like okay all-around stats, because all goblins have kind of like a lion society. Only the king gets to breed. And so when he breeds, we want his stats to kind of like be the baseline so that they only get better from there. So I guess Drizzly will do it. We want this guy right here because he's got really high trade. We want that guy because he's got really high trade. We want that guy because he's got really high trade. We don't need that many people with high war. I would keep it to like 2 people that have high war scores for right now, and then we could kind of fill in the gaps later. We've got so many people with Insomniac. That's really unfortunate. And then I'm going to fill out the rest with just people that are good at trade. That's pretty much it. I don't worry about faith too much. I kind of pick up faith on the fly. So I'll take that guy with his... I mean, he's an Insomniac too. We'll take the one that doesn't have insomnia. And then from here, I just want the best work scores. This guy is lazy, but is also more happy. Okay. I don't love it, but I'll take it. We also get to decide if we want to start with some resources or not. So we've got warm defense over here. That'll give us a whole bunch of wood and some swords. We've got off to a good start, which gives us some food and some tools and some sticks. Or we can go with basically just kind of like a luxury bundle if we wanted to. I would say warm defense is probably what I would start out with, because all of this other stuff you can get to and craft reasonably quickly, but making weapons is kind of further down the tech tree, and getting 10 weapons to start out with is kind of nice. Let's go ahead and join the Humie Stompers in their adventure to stomp the Humies. Yeah, we can play without tutorials. That's fine by me. I think I know what I'm doing. So welcome to the map. It's time for us to establish our colony. The first thing that we need to do is we need to pick a spot where we want our colony to be at. And so in order for that to work, you kind of want to have access to... Is that a giant asparagus? What is that? A primordial bloom. They've added so many new points of interest to the map since the last time I played this game years ago. But we want a place that has trees, we want a place that has rocks, and we want a place that has food. This is almost a winner over here, except that it doesn't have rocks. That is also almost a winner. There are rocks over here, but that's pretty much exclusively all that there are. Trees, and rocks. Lots of gravestones, though. These spawn bad guys when winter comes around. And so really, you don't want gravestones in the middle of your colony if you can help it. Over here, we've got an elder tree right here. The elder resources are actually pretty good because the elder resources respawn. The rest of the things on the map do not respawn, but elder resources and things near elder resources do. This has berries, 4 bushes worth. I guess these stones are not harvestable right here. They look harvestable, but I don't think they are. So there's no stones over here either. I think this kind of works if we corner up over here. That keeps us reasonably far away from any gravestones. We've got a apple tree right there. We've got a harvestable resource over here for infinite wood. We've got a stone mine over here that regenerates stone. So I think this is a pretty good spot. I'm going to go ahead and park my village like right here, just so we're right in between these two biomes. And as you can see, there's all of our little goblins. They're going to run around, and they're going to be all delightfully animated. The game looks great. I really like the art style of this game. It's a tiny bit oversaturated for my tastes, but still, it's not so oversaturated that I was like, ew, I don't want to play this game. So it's like right on that edge of whimsical and colorful. The game definitely leans into a Danny Elfman vibe when it comes to the soundtrack. It's got kind of that whimsical fable sound to it. The first thing we need to do, we need to build a grand hall. That's going to be the first building that matters to our goblin society. The question is, where do we put our great hall? I think I'm of the opinion that our great hall should kind of be over here. So we'll put the Great Hall right there. We've already got stairs erected. What's going to happen is in this game, you don't tell them to harvest things. So you know how like in RimWorld, or if you're playing Clan Folk, you tell them to go out and get sticks, and you tell them to go out and get wood, and you tell them to go mine. You don't do that in this game. They do it all on their own. And so as you can see, they're going to run off to these trees, and they're going to start grabbing sticks. Waddle, waddle, waddle. The workflow is going to be very fast for right now because we have lots and lots of goblins. But as we start assigning goblins to jobs and we have less peons, which is the default hauler class, we're going to slow down a little bit. And there's our Great Hall. As you can see, everything in this game has beautiful lighting effects, and it does get prettier. Like during the various seasons, seeing the light get thrown off of the snow or off of like water or whatever else is quite good looking. The next thing we're going to need, this is where our king lives. This is where we can assign breeders. Those are goblins whose job it is basically to have babies all day long. You can see the conceptualization of this in the top left-hand corner up here with the birth rate. So they aren't actually like bumping and grinding or anything down there. It's literally just a job where you assign them to be a breeder. They hang out inside of here all day not doing anything else, and this little number will go up. This is basically how many goblins you get per season, because a season in this game is 1 year long. If you assign both breeders right now, I think it goes up to like 1.3. So that means every 3 seasons you'll get a bonus goblin. You also get immigration as well. But I did find that population growth was a thing that I struggled with when I was playing the game last night. It's like I was constantly trying to expand my tech tree, but I never really had enough goblins to lean into a major industry the way that I wanted to. Next up, we are going to need a storage building. And we're going to want this storage to be somewhere kind of centralized. We can connect our buildings, as you can see, with little bridges, so that we live in kind of like these pseudo tree houses, I guess, with like little ramp. Basically, we turn our entire society into the Lost Boys from the 1990s movie Hook, all right? We run around, we're on zip lines, we're going, Roofy, oh, like we're doing all that fun stuff. I'll probably put the storage right here, because that's somewhat centralized. Like they're still going to have to run branches pretty far in order to get them over here, but it does put us close to the stone supply, and it puts us close to the food supply. I think we kind of had to split the difference there. It also doesn't matter if we expand out that way, because I think we're in a corner of the map right now. What's that glowing thing over here? What does that do? A resource. It's juju. Okay, sounds good. Got a little bit of that god juice flowing out. There's our storage building. It's important to note that all the buildings are animated in a very delightful way. Whenever someone over here becomes a hauler and they start storing things, like these little marbles in the top will rattle around, and there's like a little winch or something on one side that like goes up and down. Like everything's animated. When buildings do stuff in this game, they actually like move and articulate, which I think is a really cool detail. We need to assign a hauler, and for right now, I think the carrying capacity guy is probably the one I'll throw at that job. And so the carrying capacity guy is going to head on over here. He's going to put on a new hat and a new outfit, Final Fantasy Tactics style, and his job is going to be just running stuff around the base, taking things to where it's needed. The next building we are going to need, I think, is probably going to be either a crafting hut or a woodcutter's hut. We also need a kindler, because when winter gets here, we got to burn firewood in order to keep everybody happy. Let's start out with a woodcutter's hut. I don't know if I want my woodcutter's hut to be over here, near this resource, or near this resource. I suppose it doesn't really matter. Which is closest to the storage? That's definitely geographically closer to the storage. One thing is that the building does not have an arrow on the front of it to tell you which side is the front. I can see a door right there, so I think that's the front facing this way. But I do like it when games, I bring this up every time I play a game like this, I do prefer it when games have an arrow that indicates, or a line that indicates the front-facing direction of the building. Just makes life easier when it comes to... I'm really fastidious and sort of like anal retentive when it comes to placement of buildings and whatnot, and so I'll drive myself nuts building and unbuilding buildings if I'm not able to see which side is the front. Oh, they're just chiseling away at Iridan's cairn. Okay, I didn't know they could harvest the big thing in the middle. I thought they harvested the little stone. Maybe he was harvesting the little stones, and the animation just looked weird. As you can see, though, it's building. So a couple of fortunate things have happened. Summer is here, so it's going to be warm forever. Okay, not forever. But we also had a goblin baby. In a couple of seasons, that baby goblin will grow up and will join our workforce. I forgot that we needed tools first before we could build that right there. So we need to make a crafting hut. And the crafting hut, we kind of want it to be attached to our storage building so that the crafters can get access to the things they need a little bit more quickly. I'm going to fast forward the game and just edit it out because I made a mistake in my build order here. And once the crafting hut is up and running, we will resume getting after things. But what this building does is it makes tools. And tools are a very, very useful resource in this game. Pretty much everybody needs a tool that's doing a trade job. So there's our tool builder right there. We need to assign someone to the job. And realistically, we would prefer somebody that has a good trade skill. So like a 5 or better. I think a 7 works pretty well. Like a 7 is not our highest guy because this is not a crazy important job, but it is an important enough job that I would like to have somebody on it that can at least whip up tools a little bit more quickly. And as you can see, they're filling up the inputs so that we can get the outputs right there. That means we should be able to finish off the woodcutter's hut very shortly. And there we go. The woodcutter's hut is done. We need to assign some woodcutters real fast, or just one woodcutter. Doesn't really matter how many we assign. We don't have anybody that's got a particularly solid skill set for chopping down trees. So I had a guy the last time I played the game who had a trait called Hippie. And he had like an 8 in trade skill, but he could only do harvesting roles. So like herbs, trees, berries. But he was really, really good at it if you put him inside one of those jobs. I think I'll probably just go for, like, this level... Oh, that was the wrong thing. You're supposed to click and drag. I know how to play this video game. There we go. So with the click and drag, we've got him into position. He's going to start chopping down trees and doing the best that he can. As of right now, we've only got 30% of the output that we would ideally want. But in my experience, having played the game... So I figured wood was going to be a really important resource when I played this game to like practice before I made this episode. And what I found was that wood kind of gets overproduced. Oh, did he just shout timber when he chopped down a tree, but in Goblin? That's hilarious. We need a kindler as well. This is somebody that's going to chop firewood for their career so that we don't freeze to death when winter gets here because our firewood is running out very, very rapidly. So we need to get on top of that before any further notice. Woodcutter is here. So that was an easy peasy operation. Now we're going to assign a log splitter. Because firewood is fairly important, I'm going to put this level 4 guy in and we'll keep an eye on how all this goes. I don't really have a lot of work for thanks. So I'm going to put thanks in there. I love that they put a little log on their head to denote their job. Like every single one of these jobs has a little outfit. So like the crafting hut, they've got like a little It's like a pilot's hat on with goggles, and the goggle has a jeweler's loop on it that comes down so that they can magnify while they're crafting like an axe that's made out of rocks. Like if you go over here, the little carrier guys, he's got kind of like a little floppy peasant's hat and a backpack. Like I find the goblin design to be very charming. Very, very charming. The next thing we need is housing, actually. I was trying to think where I wanted to go from here. We need housing. So what we're going to take is we're going to take this warren over here. And actually, we're going to kind of multi-purpose this warren too. Because if we put this warren down, it'll make a bridge so that they don't have to go all the way around the map. There is a utilitarian nature to the bridge building in this game, and you do kind of want to pay attention to it. Over on this side, we don't have to worry about it too much because we got stairs right there. Apparently, Ustor is dissatisfied and may riot at any moment. He does look kind of cranky. There's no lie there. What's wrong with... How come he's so cranky so early? Did he not get the buff for clan optimism? Oh, is he one of the guys that has insomnia, so he's just sleepy? He does indeed have Okay, so he's got insomniac, which I think is really kind of determining how cranky he's going to be. I get it. I used to have really bad insomnia when I was younger. I think I used to sleep maybe 2 to 3 hours a night for years, and you start to go slowly a little bit crazy, dude. You operate on a razor's edge when you're living life like that. It's a toughie. It looks like they're getting better after watching it for a minute. I think we just have to be really careful with the insomniacs. They seem pretty temperamental. And our Warrens is done. We now have room for 18 goblins, and people have a place to sleep. And I think that should make their mood go up pretty aggressively, because now they have a place to warm themselves, and they have a place... Okay, never mind, I'm wrong. It's going down super fast. I'm not super sure how I keep the insomniacs happy, but I get the feeling last time I played the game, none of my goblins had any traits whatsoever, and they just stayed at overjoyed forever for the hours that I played. These guys seem very, very... So I'm thinking insomniac may be a trait you might want to avoid. Now, I, having not played the game in a long, long time, did not know that walking in, but insomniac seems to be a fairly devastating trait. Not absurdly devastating, but definitely a problem. Absolutely an issue. What do I want to make next? We need to make... A trade hall isn't the worst idea, but we have like all winter to make a trade hall, because the trade hall, all it really does is it allows you to travel on the world map, and then it allows you to do diplomacy, I think, and then it allows you to also service a vendor that shows up at the beginning of spring every year. And like the diplomacy and stuff is not things we're going to get to during the duration of this video. Instead, we would mostly just be using it for the trader to come. Might not be a bad idea to actually get a watchtower going so that we can defend ourselves. My question is, I don't know where to put the watchtower at. So there's no gravestones over there. Okay, so diplomatic, so that we're getting attacked from that direction. Are there any other gates around on the map? Really impressed by the frame rate. For a game that looks this pleasant, I was expecting, like, I've got the graphics completely and totally maxed out. I'm using, like, the most aggressive version of anti-aliasing, and it's still running smooth as butter right now. They really got this game optimized. Like, I was expecting some frame hitches as I pan down low like this, and I expand out the field of view and have, like, more things going on. Not a single hitch. Still feels great. My hardware is not necessarily, like, brand new or on the cutting edge. Good. Like to see it. So the tower, probably best to put it over here, because there's a wall right there, so we're not going to be getting hit from that direction. I mean, if I could get it to cover kind of the back end of the base too, that'd be nice. But this is a bit of an improvised, imperfect situation. We'll let them build that up. And I think Insomniac basically forces a character to effectively be at almost broken morale all the time. I think that's pretty much what happens. is that, like, I don't even know if I can assign them to a job, maybe. It might be a decent idea then to take him off of this and just leave him as a peon. That really seems like a waste to me, though, because he's got such a good trade skill. Tough one. Real tough one. All of my goblins are cranky. Well, not all of them. Most of my goblins are perfectly fine right now. It's just the 2 insomniacs that are really being an issue. If I can assign them to be guards, maybe I could get them killed off in combat just to eliminate the threat. There's our guards right there. Good. Put our guy with a 7 war score in right there. He's going to become a town watch. So basically, he will hang out. He will walk around. If anybody gets out of line, he roughs them up, basically. He's like our first version of law enforcement. Looks like our king is just going for a stroll right there. That's a fancy headset, though, dude. That's a killer set of gaming headphones that he's got on right there. I respect it. That's a big yawn, too, and it's good to be king. You can prioritize resources by clicking on things and telling them to scavenge priority style. It doesn't seem to affect the goblins, I'll be honest with you. Every single time I've given them a priority order, they just kind of seem to ignore it. That's something that needs to be tightened up. Right now, all I have is one thing that's being told to be a priority for my 3 peons. Not a single peon is on it. They're ignoring it and doing other things. It may be because I don't have a trade hall, possibly. But I don't think that's it. I'm not sure. Let's build a trade hall and find out. So we'll do the trade hall. That's 10 logs and like 10 stones. That's fine. The trade hall can sort of go wherever. The trade hall doesn't have a specific spot that it needs to be in. I'll probably just plop it over here somewhere. I still don't know where the front of this building is. I think that's the front right there. It looks like it has like a lantern hanging from it or something on that side that would go over kind of like the transom or over like the gabling of the door. Like, I don't know. So the trade hall is done. We've also got one goblin that's upset that we don't have frogs, but I don't think I have a frog harvesting location nearby. There are these ponds around, and the ponds will have the frogs that you need. And the frogs are kind of like a luxury food resource. There's one right there for your elite goblins. So like the kings and the trade lords and the warlords and the stuff like that. They want the really nice food, and the really nice food, in case you were wondering, is the goblin stuff. We have I don't need to put a trade prince in here. I suppose I could. Let's see if they actually respect the priority order now that I put that in there. I'll reset it and everything. Yeah, so it looks like the peons are caught up just kind of like moving logs around. I'm going to take some peons off the job real fast. I think we've got ourselves a little bit of a stopgap, and I'm actually super worried about our food going into the winter. So I think what I had to do is I think I had to set up my priorities for my peons custom. I was sort of hoping they would do it on their own, just kind of using their AI brains, but it appears to me as though they really, really prefer to haul things over everything else. So instead of doing that, I'm going to disable hauling on like half of them. And we actually may have invasions coming soon now, too. Oh, yeah, there's undead over here. I think they completely and totally missed my guards, too. I think he's just, like, running for his life. Oh, yeah, we gotta put everybody in defensive mode. There we go. We sounded the town alarm. So somebody should do something over here. So everybody's fleeing in panic right now. I think I'm going to have to move this. Like, I think I'm going to have to move it over to, like, there, I think. Otherwise, it doesn't look like we're getting the mileage out of it that I had hoped. I have no control over my king, so I can't really tell him to come back or, like, loop around. It looks like my king is pretty good at fighting, because he is whooping the stuffing out of those zombies right there. Wow. My king only has like 4 in war. Good for you, man. Good for you. All right, so before the next wave, what we need to do now is the next wave is going to come in a little bit. Now that we know it's coming from a different angle, I've got to take this. Now that I know kind of where the fight is coming from, we can move this over to here-ish. And then we're going to high priority customize that right there just to get it done about as rapidly as possible. There we go. Our tower's back up now. So let's just maybe assign a guard or two to protect this place. That should hopefully start putting ranged attacks. Oh yeah, you can see the gravestones. They're lit up right there. So what's going to happen is later on we get priests, and the priests can go and they can cleanse these, and they get resources out of it that we can use for casting like spells and magic and stuff like that. For right now, though, not an option. We just got to kind of ride out the winter and see how it goes. Here comes another wave of enemies. So they should aggro and start attacking our base very shortly. We do have bones out there, though, which is kind of nice. What does this thing do? Oh, it grows hemp! We've actually got cloth and tailoring really nearby to our base. I love it. That'll be really helpful. So our guard should be hanging out over here. Is our guard over here? Tough to say. Yeah, let's go ahead and defend the village. If they're not in defense mode, they don't come over here to defend stuff. Gotcha. So as you can see, he's firing his little bow right here. My king is going off to war. Good, we are victorious. We can't pick up the bones when they're just like laying around the camp until we have a building that's specifically made to do that. Wow, this is really loud in my ears right now. The game was like quiet, but then when I zoomed in on the action, it was like blowing out my eardrums, and now I'm worried my noise gate on my microphone isn't gonna catch it. You guys are gonna hear my headphones because I made a mistake and I got open ear headphones, dude. I am not impressed with open ear headphones. I don't think they sound as good as closed ear. Like, I've tried, like, the Sennheisers, dude. I've tried, like, all the nice headphones that are open ear. And I feel like I need enclosed cans in order to mix properly. I feel that's, like, ever since the hack, I've been trying to get my audio back to where I want it to be because I didn't have a screenshot of all my settings on my mixer. And, like, that's partially on me. But, becomes one of those things where I think I'm gonna have to get some new headphones soon, like some actual mixing headphones, so that I can sit down with my EQ and get everything fixed, because I just don't think these headphones are great for mixing due to the open ear nature of them. They tend to blend out like the mid to the mid lows, and it kind of blurs together. So I gotta go get another pair of headphones from the living room, bring them back over here whenever I want to make audio adjustments. Drives me kind of crazy a little bit. We have another baby born, and then we've got another wave of skeletons coming on in. I'm just letting the time wheel up here advance us, basically. I'm a little bit worried about food. I have concerns about food longevity here. Our food is lower than I would like it to be for where we are in the winter. Food, well, it says that it'll regrow in spring. I guess we'll find out, but like last time I played, I felt like the berries didn't come back until summer. So maybe that was just a perception thing with me. We need to put our people on guard mode. Get everybody back to the archery tower. That is a lot of gremlins, though. Hopefully the king comes up here and helps, because he's getting stomped on pretty good. It looks like the king is coming up here to help with the fight, and the king just hit for 54. That is a huge amount of damage. Good lord. He just dropped a bomb on that zombie. My man, 65. Man. Okay, it's good to be king. I understand why he's king now. That makes a lot more sense to me. We have arrived at the terminus of our first winter. Hopefully soon, berries will regrow. We should get a trader pretty soon, so I'll probably end up buying food from the trader just to get us through. I don't think the berries, like, instantly bounce back the moment that we get to spring. It's still kind of chilly. It's kind of like where I live, the coldest part of the year is like March. That's when it's like absolutely the most coldest that it gets. And then like somewhere midway through April, it'll kind of break. So here is our goblin merchant. I love the animations in this game. I really like the colors and like the setup of the UI. Like, it's a pleasant looking game. We have a lot of tools. And so my suggestion here would be that we sell like 30 of them in order to finance purchases that we're going to need in order to keep ourselves alive over the course of the game. We also have a lot of firewood. I think we can possibly get away with getting rid of like 40 to 50 firewood just to bring in cash. Like a little bit of extra something something on top. I'm going to take all 33 of his food. And then I think I'm going to accept that trade. There we go. We've got our first little bit of financials being added on into the community coffers. We, as goblins, have generated profit. We have shown that our colonization of this area is fruitful. I have 5 goblins to play around with. Like, my babies keep growing up, and we keep getting, like, little immigrants and stuff. I need to take a look and see if any of them are good at anything. So let's see here. This guy is speedy. He is a worker. He is a weakling. But with 5 crafting, faster work speed, and faster movement, I kind of feel like this guy is either a really good... He's either a really good lumberjack, because lumberjacks move around a lot, or he's a really good carrier. Yeah, he's super efficient as a carrier. That's kind of the feeling that I got. With his double movement speed and his double work speed. Oh my god, he's hauling, bro. Look at my man's got wheels. He put on his little goblin Reeboks, man. He's got speed to him. Okay, all right. We're going to clear out some of these red numbers from the map here. I like it. I like it a lot. Are you dead? Please don't. Okay, I saw a goblin laying on the ground. I was like, if you're going to die, can you do it somewhere that's not like in the main thoroughfare? If you're gonna die, just like do it someplace that's easy to cover up. We've got foreign diplomats and dignitaries coming, and I'm trying to set up sort of like a North Korea type situation here with like wax fruit at the front of like fake supermarkets. Like, I don't want them to realize how bad it is here, because then they're gonna feel sorry for us, and that's one of the worst feelings in the world, is when somebody just feels sorry for you. Not about that business. Not about it. Oh, the berries came back. Yeah, it looks like it's about halfway through spring that they come back. But my thoughts about Goblins of Elderstone so far. This is a game that has really nice animations. It has really nice stylized art. The lighting effects are well done. The graphics look great. The little animations of the goblins when they interact with each other and they do their jobs, that all looks fantastic. Presentation-wise, everything about this game is off the charts. There are little modifications to the UI that I would love to see that would make my life a little bit easier. Like, sometimes it feels like there are little bits and pieces of the UI that could be in other places that make it feel a little bit better. I'm having trouble thinking of like an example right now. But like if we go to our statistics over here, we can go to like our goblins, you know what I mean? But like I've been looking around and it doesn't feel to me like there's an easily accessible place where it will show you all of your goblins and all of their skills in one spot. So I feel like I'm constantly just opening up an improvise tab like this one right here to see what skills I have amongst all my goblins. When really what I'd like is the ability to open basically this window from anywhere, and I can't seem to figure out a way to do that. Like, this menu's kind of that, but it doesn't show their stats right here, and I want to be able to see all my guys, like, and they could make this work too. Like, if they just made this a tiny bit wider on screen, you could have room right here for the little stat graphs for every single goblin, and then you could have filters and whatnot that would pull ones with certain skills up to the top. But so far I haven't found an easy way to do that aside from kind of just like going here, clicking on a building, opening this on up, you know what I mean? And so I do think there are little things with the UI that could be a tiny bit clearer. The thing is, we live in a world where Dwarf Fortress and we live in a world where RimWorld both exist on Steam. And so any game that's going into colony survival is going to have like its own gimmick or its own thing that's going to need to draw you in order to basically recover any oxygen from the elephants in the room that are basically perfect games. So games like this are always going to be up against a very steep incline, even if qualitatively they're very, very good games, because you need to be so distinct from Dwarf Fortress and RimWorld just to get a space to operate on Steam that it's going to be tough. I would say this is a colony builder. It does not give you a tremendous amount of control over your goblins. If you enjoy that kind of gameplay where you're building and your goblins are automated and the automation leads to shenanigans and you don't really have a way to like force people to haul things or force people to go pick berries or whatever else, you're kind of at the whims of the AI and what it decides to do and what priorities you set up, you'll probably be okay with this game, especially if you are into greenskins and goblins like I am. I love greenskins, I love goblins, I love orcs. I play them in every single game that I possibly can. I've always been fascinated with them. They're my favorite monster-esque races, like non-humanoid races. Or I guess they're kind of humanoid, but anyways, greenskins are one of my favorite groups in any fantasy setting. And so that combined with the slick visuals of this game are enough to make me play it and enjoy it. However, I haven't gotten far enough in yet to see if the game has any other packaged gimmicks ready to go that compete with like a modded RimWorld or like Dwarf Fortress or whatever else. So maybe we'll answer those questions when we stream the game. For right now, I've had no technical issues, I've had no bugs, I've had no crashes, I've had no frame dips. I think the game looks great. I think it sounds really good. All of that stuff is in order. The things that I can't super comment on for right now, since I've only played for like 2 hours, is how deep does this rabbit hole go and how much depth is there to the systems in play. I can tell you there's an entire faith system that I haven't even played around with outside the dedication of a temple. I don't know if more buildings get added in down here either, if this is all we're ever going to get. I've played around with the war a tiny bit. I've done some diplomacy in my longer playthrough where I like contacted elves and tried to smooth over kind of like a diplomatic issue with them. And that seemed pretty cool and pretty smooth and nothing really went wrong with that. But I'm going to have to play a little bit more, and so we'll do that on stream. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were checking out Goblins of Elderstone for our final 1.0 coverage to give you some idea of whether or not this is a game for you. I'll be back tomorrow with something hot and fresh off the indie skillet, but for now, that's all I got. Bye, folks.